It's the holiday season. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. I have officially transitioned to the Christmas theme here as we do our conference championship picks for really the final major weekend before the bowls for college football in 2022. Of course, we're going to find out everything in terms of the playoffs with these conference championship games. But first, we get to ease into these predictions with a makeup game. Yes, guys, this game had the potential, Akron versus Buffalo, to be one of the most memorable games of the 2022 season. The 6 feet of snow in the Buffalo area, but they had to postpone it, and now they're randomly playing it on Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock. And guys, Buffalo sitting minus 13.5. Very interesting with Akron bringing in a quarterback, a transfer from Albany, I believe, and played really well last week. They got a crazy blowout win over Northern Illinois. But guys, I do feel very strong about Buffalo winning this game and covering the spread. Buffalo is a good team. Akron will come back down to earth. This is a makeup game, so it's tough to gauge the overall, attentiveness these kids are going to have for this game happening on Friday at 1 o'clock. But you know what? It's a nice little appetizer. There's going to be about 10 people watching. We will take Buffalo big over Akron. Akron coming back down to earth, but we will see. It should be a fun game. Now we're on to the conference championship games, and it's Conference USA. It's going to be North Texas, who is 7-5, taking on UTSA. UTSA, the heavy favorites in this one. They were recently ranked, by the AP poll. They're 10-2. They are on an absolute warpath, and I think they win this game and cover the spread. I was very disappointed in North Texas and their offensive performance last week. So because of that, I think UTSA, the way they've been playing, they're 10-2. They might actually get ranked at least at number 24 or number 25 on Tuesday night. UTSA, Frank Harris, and that offense win big, and they win the Conference USA Conference Championship. Next we have, guys, here it is. This might be the biggest game of the weekend. I know there's definitely a narrative out there that this weekend with the conference championships, a lot of them are pretty meaningless, and I would agree, but this one is very, very important. It is Utah and USC. We remember Utah beat USC by 1 point at home earlier this year. That is USC's only loss. This is an 8 o'clock game. USC sitting right now, I think they're -2 or -2.5 according to most books. The analytics do favor Utah. It is extremely, extremely hard to beat a team twice, especially when the teams are so evenly matched. But guys, I do have faith that Utah pulls out this victory. They're going to be very motivated. If we remember, before the season started, guys, people thought Utah was clearly superior to USC. They lost to Florida. It was a bad loss, but if you look at the analytical models, if you look at the actual numbers, Utah is a more complete team. USC's offense is a little bit better than Utah's offense, but Utah's defense is significantly better than USC's. Either way, guys, this game is going to be very close. USC is playing for a college football playoff spot. They win, they're in. They lose, they're out. It's that simple. It's going to be a great game. Again, it's very hard for, if two teams are evenly matched, for one team to win both of those games within the same 3-month period. That's what Utah is trying to do. And guys, again, Utah before the season, we all thought, I think I did have them making the playoffs. They're still a really good team with the 3 losses. They've gotten some big wins. They've already beaten USC once. I think this comes down to USC and their inability to stop Utah. Utah having a little bit better of a defense, and they win this game outright as the Vegas 2.5-point underdogs. That would open up the door for Ohio State to make the playoffs. Moving on to the Saturday championships. This is the MAC championship. So this game will be played in a dome. It is Ohio and Toledo. Guys, my goodness, Toledo has just completely face planted. I don't know why they're favorites in this game. Ohio is playing really well. They've got the best quarterback in the MAC. Guys, if there's two things I can guarantee you, number one, Ohio is going to win this game. Number two, it's going to be extremely high scoring. That's what the MAC brings. They're in a dome. There's going to be a lot of offense. Ride Ohio in this game. I think Ohio closes as 1-point favorites because at this point with Toledo, it's like fool me once, fool me twice, fool me 3 times. I mean, they've been legitimately bad for like 3 weeks now, or maybe even longer than that. They do have a good quarterback who's a dual threat playmaker, but you have to take, especially in this situation, it is the MAC championship. Let's take the team that has all of the momentum. Actually, you know what? Ohio is dealing with a quarterback injury. You know what now? Okay, that makes more sense now. Yes, I would have to check that. I do remember that now. It is weird because Ohio had the quarterback injury and then ended up winning anyways last week by like 30 points. That's why I was confused. Yes, we're going to have to take a look at that quarterback injury for Ohio. The line makes more sense now, I'll be honest, guys. But I'm still going with Ohio either way. I hate quarterback injuries. Next, we've got the other noon game, the Big 12 Championship. This is the other huge one in terms of the playoffs. There's a lot of speculation. If TCU loses, are they still in? Could Ohio State pass them? What if TCU gets blown out? Guys, I don't think it's going to be a problem. It seems like this year, things are going TCU's way. It feels like it's right. Sometimes when it's right, you got to predict it. I do think TCU finishes 13-0, and they will go in to be the 3 seed if USC loses in the playoff in a Fiesta Bowl matchup with Michigan. So I have TCU winning this game. I love the over. Kansas State is a really, really good opponent. Certainly, they could win this game. It gets really interesting. What if Kansas State blows out TCU? What happens to them? That's another conversation for another day. But right now, it just feels right. Everything, all the close games going TCU's way. I think they end it. At least, in terms of winning their conference championship. This line, the over in this game, I think is 62. I love the over. I also like TCU to cover the small spread, but I like the over more because it is in a dome. It's in Jerry World, and both of these offenses very good, especially Kansas State's offense has been extremely good. TCU with a good enough offense, and really, both of the defenses not really all that elite. So I like a lot of points to be scored in this game. Very entertaining matchup, but TCU gets the job done and secures their playoff spot with this victory. Moving on to the afternoon games, it is the Sun Belt. Yes, the Sun Belt Championship. It is Troy taking on Coastal Carolina. Very unfortunate about this game with the Grayson McCall injury. Troy opened as 8-point favorites. They immediately got bet up to 10-point favorites. Troy has a phenomenal defense. If you guys don't know, Coastal Carolina, without Grayson McCall, lost 47-7 to James Madison. I believe they're going to have a massive issue without Grayson McCall scoring against this good, elite Troy defense, and Troy really does deserve the Sun Belt Championship. They've been the best team in that conference all year, and they do get a bone not having to face Grayson McCall. Certainly, I think they win this fairly easily, and it's a lower scoring game. They end up covering the spread and winning 24-10. Moving to the SEC Championship, probably the worst SEC Championship since Missouri came out of the East back in like 2014 or something, if you guys remember that. But this is LSU taking on Georgia. LSU coming off that crippling loss on the road at Texas A&M. If they win this game, I believe they would, for sure go to a New Year's Six Bowl, even with 3 losses, because they would be the SEC champion. But guys, this game just feels boring. It feels like Georgia is just a machine right now, and they're like, listen, we don't care about the spread. We don't care about anything. We're going to win this game. We're going to sit on the ball. LSU is going into this game completely dejected. They know they're a heavy underdog right now. Georgia sitting as 17-point favorites. But after they lost to Texas A&M, I think LSU has lost a lot of their motivation. I see a sleep fest. LSU possibly scores late to cover the spread. I would not bet LSU plus 17, but I would be interested possibly in the under 51 in this game because I do think Georgia is just going to ball control this game to death, and it's a situation where Georgia knows, listen, let's just get an easy SEC championship. It's going to look good on our resume when you talk about Georgia possibly being a dynasty. They're just going to try and win and get out in a game like this, and I think they do it. I think it's very boring. It's going to have bad ratings. I'm sure CBS is very upset that this ended up the way it did with LSU not even having an outside chance at making the playoff because they suffered that loss to Texas A&M. This SEC championship, a lot of these championships are lacking any sort of high stakes, and it is unfortunate. Moving on to the American Championship, Conference Championship, really good game. This game is for a New Year's Six Bowl. It's UCF and it's Tulane. Tulane sitting as 2.5-point favorites. UCF, Plumlee, the quarterback, always seems to be injured because he runs all the time. We'll see how healthy he is for this one. But guys, I do like Tulane to win this game. This is kind of similar to TCU. Let's end it off on a right note. I love UCF football. They've proved me right so many times this year. I said they were the best team in the American. But guys, something feels right about Tulane getting a shot at a New Year's Six Bowl. I would love to see the program face a team like a Tennessee, maybe a Penn State. UCF, is UCF probably, if you were to ask me, who do I think has a better chance of beating Penn State, Tulane or UCF? I would say UCF, but I do think for the parity of college football, a program like Tulane, who very rarely gets shots or chances like this, I think it would be for the best if Tulane made it. But UCF is certainly a great team. This should be a really good game, a little bit higher scoring game that Tulane, in my opinion, wins late. I just have to pick them. They've had such a good season out of nowhere, kind of similar to TCU. I think they can end it off on the right note. The Mountain West Championship, this game happening at 4 o'clock. Boise State, 3.5-point favorites. And guys, I love Fresno State to win this game outright. Ever since they got their starting quarterback back, they have been on a total warpath. I know they're underdogs. I know Boise State's been good. They crushed Utah State. They've been playing really well. This is a good game, guys. These are two really good teams. They've been playing really well towards the end of the season. I think Fresno State, if they didn't have a quarterback injury, they might be a top 20 team in terms of the rankings right now. That's how good they've been playing. So I will take Fresno State as the 3.5-point underdog to win this game outright, 32-26, in a very fun Mountain West Championship game in the afternoon. Moving to the Big Ten Championship, very similar situation to last year. It is Michigan facing a lesser Big Ten West team, and this time it's Purdue. Michigan sitting at 16-point favorites. If you guys remember last year, Michigan thrashed Iowa 42-3. A quick prediction on this: I do not think Michigan will play Blake Corum. There's no reason to risk anything like that. You want to save him for the playoffs, and Blake Corum, being out for Michigan, it enabled them to open up their passing attack. We saw J.J. McCarthy absolutely break out. I'm sure Fox is probably not happy about this matchup. I see this game with Michigan pretty firmly in control, possibly up 34-17 late, and then maybe Purdue with Aiden O'Connell, Charlie Jones, and that offense. It's in a dome. Maybe they can get a late touchdown and cover the spread, but either way, Michigan should be fully in control of this game. It's going to be a very workmanlike effort for Michigan. They're extremely well coached. And well-coached teams that are more talented than the other team normally never lose those games. And Michigan is more talented than Purdue, and they're very well-coached. So I think, again, very similar to the Georgia situation. Michigan sitting as massive favorites. They know they're virtually already in, even if they somehow get upset. But they're going to win this game. Another trend that I wanted to mention to everyone: when you have a heavy favorite in a conference championship game, that team is normally always a lock to win. It's just kind of the thing I've noticed the last 3 or 4 years. Like Georgia, 17-point favorites, Michigan, 16-point favorites. I would be shocked. And I know it's like a crazy upset anyways, but I don't think we've ever seen a team that was that big of an underdog win a game outright that's a conference championship game. I don't think we've seen it. So this is a game where I think Michigan will be in firm control of. They will lock up the number 2 overall seed in the college football playoffs and possibly a date with TCU in the Fiesta Bowl for Michigan. Moving to the ACC Championship, here's a fun one, and this actually does have a little meaning, even with Clemson and North Carolina both in a tailspin right now. This game, I believe, is for a New Year's Six berth. So whoever wins this game should go to a New Year's Six bowl. Right now, Clemson listed as 8-point favorites. And guys, I just think it's too many points, man. Like, I cannot bet, or trust Clemson to cover an 8-point spread right now, the way they're playing, the way their passing offense is operating. I think it's going to be a fun game that is meaningless in the big picture. But with Drake May, North Carolina, they've shown the ability to score points. I realize they haven't been good recently, but still, guys, the ACC Championship, the 8 o'clock time slot to end off the night on ABC, it should be a fun one. And I think Clemson ends up getting it done. Dabo Swinney, that continuity, they're overall more talented than North Carolina, but I do like North Carolina to be able to cover this 8-point spread against Clemson. It just feels like Clemson is a little bit down right now, but I do think they have the motivation to win this game and make a New Year's Six bowl. So guys, those are my official conference championship predictions, and if this did play out, obviously if USC wins, if TCU wins, they're both in. If USC loses, Ohio State is in. If TCU loses, there would be a debate between Ohio State and TCU. It would depend, in my opinion, how bad TCU lost, things like that, the situation surrounding it, and the overall numbers, the strength of record, the strength of schedule, the FPI, things like that, the game control. And that's what it would come down to, in my opinion. If this played out like I said, TCU goes to the number 3. They end up facing Michigan. Georgia faces Ohio State. So really, those are the only options. I think the only way Alabama can make it is if USC loses and TCU gets blown out by Kansas State. That would be the only path Alabama has, in my opinion. But either way, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.